So why are we power scaling romance anime characters? Well, the reason's simple. To be honest, I think that romance anime characters are actually stronger than most characters that get thrown into power scaling discussions. For example, Makima is a character who finds herself in a lot of power scaling discussions, but how does she stack up in romance scaling? Well, as far as I'm concerned, she's a complete fraud. What's her biggest feat? Seducing and manipulating a child? Just a complete fraud. She wouldn't last a day in the Fruits Basket universe. In fact, Shigure is probably a better manipulator than her anyways. Look at Toru Honda. She was able to have multiple guys fall in love with her solely due to her kindness and understanding. She's compassionate, considerate, and a good communicator. Sure, she has her flaws, namely that she pushes herself too hard and doesn't consider her own feelings enough, but at the end of the day, she works together with others in order to overcome them. She meets people where they are, helps them, and when she needs it, they help her. And she doesn't need to manipulate anyone to have these mutual relationships. That's real strength. Okay, with that out of the way, let's really get down to business. Romance anime characters, while not involved in fights, usually play on a completely different field, and their accomplishments, or lack thereof, should be analyzed and assessed just as much as we would for characters in action heavy series. The point of all this is to see how characters stack up to characters in other universes, or to see how a character would do in another story. So, in order to do that, let's begin romance scaling. Here's a random example I came up with. Let's compare Honey Lemon Soda to Dress Up Darling. I'll be frank, Kai just isn't going to cut it in Dress Up Darling. Sure, he's popular, good looking, and he certainly has feats, but at the end of the day, he just isn't going to connect with Kitagawa. While he might be accepting of her hobbies, he certainly wouldn't be interested in them. And while helping others isn't foreign to him, he's too addicted to aura farming to be straightforward and open with his feelings. A lot of his feats come from swooping in at the right moment to help out Ishimori, but I don't think that's what Kitagawa needs. Gojo, on the other hand, has a better shot in Honey Lemon Soda, but not a perfect one. The Gojo at the beginning of the series would certainly not have the courage to stand up for Ishimori, and he likely wouldn't even make contact with her. However, if they were to make contact, I think that they could bond over their similar situations. Both being people with very low self confidence who would rather isolate themselves from others. With that being said, it would likely take an end of series Gojo, one who has grown through his interactions with Kitagawa, to really be a powerful force in the Honey Lemon Soda universe. And that's what it looks like scaling characters by putting them in each other's respective works. We can also just scale feats. Who had to work harder to accomplish their feats? Who overcame greater challenges in their relationship? Who entered a relationship faster? Does any of this matter? Maybe. These are all things we can discuss and debate while romance scaling. For example, no shade to blue box characters, but they have no feats. At least in the parts that I have seen, and what I've been told by others who have read farther than me, these characters are just completely featless and rely on random external circumstances in order to push themselves together. Now, look at a series like Hananoi. These characters have feats. Hananoi and Hotaru play a direct role in every single one of their developments, whether it be a romantic moment, communicating and solving an issue in their relationship, or helping each other grow in ways outside of their dating life. Hananoi and Hotaru work for each other, and they have consistent and notable feats because of it. While Chinatsu and Taiki certainly admire each other for things like their work effort and passion, if you want to keep up in the world of romance scaling, you're gonna need bigger and better feats as your series progresses. Hananoi didn't just stop at the first kiss, he leveled up to the first makeout. And Hotaru didn't just stop at helping Hananoi feel loved, she helped Hananoi make friends. And yeah, I would have crush on Hotaru too. She is absolutely multiversal. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, Hotaru and Hananoi solo most verses. Before we move on, I want to touch on one more part of scaling: chain scaling. In romance scaling, I suppose chain scaling would look like if Taiki falls for Chinatsu and Hina falls for Taiki, then Hina would fall for Chinatsu. And if that sounds stupid, well, that's exactly how regular chain scaling sounds too. Anyways, now that we've talked about actual scaling, we need to talk about another thing: agenda. Agenda is what makes the world go round, and if romance scaling has any chance of succeeding, it will obviously need to have agenda posting. Well, are we in luck? Because while it might surprise you, I don't actually think it'll be all that hard to make agenda posts about characters from romance series. Let's start with a modern classic, The Potential Man, and boy, do I have an example for you. Let's revisit a series we've already discussed today, Honey Lemon Soda, and let's look at its resident potential man, Takamine Tomoya. He'll be an important foil any day now. There's a reason someone called him disgusting. His low screen time is to enhance his mysterious aura. He'll affect Kai and Ishimori's relationship one day. He's super good looking and tall. He just has to be important. These are all things that I can say about Takamine Tomoya. For more context, Takamine is one of the friends of the main character's love interest, Kai. He is considered good looking by other characters within the show, he seems outwardly kind, and he usually joins Kai's other friends in helping the main character Ishimori with things like scaring away possible bullies. However, in season 1 of the anime, this guy is teased like crazy to be important to the plot or play some role in impacting the relationship between Kai and Ishimori, and he just doesn't. I'll go on a bit of a tangent here, but let me explain. Takamine seems to be built up to be this big foil character, like how in episode 2, he helps Kai and Ishimori get closer together, but then teases Kai about being close with her, and even calls her cute. And then, in the next episode, they reshuffle seats, and he ends up sitting next to her, and Ishimori is actually between him and Kai. Then, after a couple episodes, after a classmate does something to make Ishimori look bad, Takamine is the one who brings a girl to Ishimori to make her apologize. Then Takamine tells Ishimori to watch out because her and Kai are indeed close. But then he tells her that maybe it would be better if she and Kai had never met because bad things are happening specifically because she's with Kai and as she hasn't made any real progress. And to top it all off, he's like, should Kai really be by your side? Which makes Ishimori run away. Clearly, there are some implications here, and later in the same episode, it shows Takamine take note when Kai directly compliments Ishimori to another guy. And then he disappears for a couple episodes. He then makes a very small appearance at the end of episode 6, where Kai is debating going to help Ishimori, and Takamine reminds him that Kai actually said he wasn't interested in Ishimori romantically, which Kai responds that he takes it back and walks away. At this point, Takamine may as well have disappeared from the show, because if I remember correctly, his only real line after this is in episode 10, where a girl singles him out as being disgusting, and he simply smiles and insults her. Again, despite being helpful to Ishimori and even helping her and Kai grow closer, there are clearly implications about his character and how he really feels about the two of them. However, by the end of season 1, he's done nothing. Just an absolute potential man in every sense of the word. If he doesn't do anything by the end of season 2, I don't know what I'll do. Sorry for the tangent, but the point is, romance-related agenda posting is that easy. It's everywhere. Here's another one. Fact. Fujinomiya made up her backstory so Masamune would feel bad for her. Or fact. Keima's glasses are rose-tinted to make it look like the girls he talks to are blushing. Honestly, I really think there's a lot of untapped potential here, and I would encourage anyone to post their own romance-related agenda memes. And if it's on Twitter or something, please use hashtag romancescaling so I can find it. At the end of the day, I hope this makes it clear that the divide between the shipping daughter and the power scaling son is only what we make of it. I mean, we've seen action manga characters get shipped for literal ages, so why not power scale romance characters too? I think it's only right.